We're in the Gonk gardens today talking about potato towers. We're going to be planting our potato towers in our root vegetable garden, where we've planted all sorts of yummy root vegetables from garlic, onions, beets, radishes, carrots, and we're going to add potatoes to the mix. The materials we're going to be using is pretty much any sort of fencing material you can find in the shed. Don't go buy anything special. People use everything from trash bags to trash cans to 5-gallon buckets. This happened to be in the shed, and we're going to use this as our main stabilizer for the column that we're going to be building. They're called potato towers because we're going vertical with it. This does a few things. One is you can cage the food product from the mammals and any other underground predators of the root vegetables. Secondly, you have a little more control over the soil conditions and how warm it is. Potatoes, they're in the nightshade family. You'll find a lot of other food products. This is one of the most successful plant families in the world. It has everything from eggplants to tomatoes, potatoes, all the way to tobacco, all the way to the flowers like Brugmansia and Datura. And a lot of these plants have something in common. They have a toxicity in the leaves. You've heard of solanine in potatoes when potatoes go green. Your mother always said, don't eat green potatoes. There's a toxic compound that they build up to prevent animals from predating them. But as long as they stay underground in the soil, potatoes will develop and grow into big, yummy bundles of starch energy. So what we're gonna do is, with this material, I don't even know how much is in here, we're just gonna cut it in half, and we're gonna make 2 columns. You'll see for sale, there's potato boxes, potato towers for sale, and people have experimented going upwards of 5 feet with them. They look interesting, but there's a lot of problems with this technique, and there's a lot of failure as well. I'm not quite sure how successful we're gonna be. There have been some amazing claims and a lot of failures from people doing this sort of potato growing. One of the problems is the volume, the height that you're going. Potatoes want even distribution of water through the whole column. So the taller you go, the harder it is gonna be to get that even moisture all the way to the bottom of it. So what we're gonna do is go a little bit smaller, just whatever height that we have right here. That's roughly 2 feet and change. And we're gonna build this. So what I'm gonna do is just cut it in half, and that'll be the source for our 2 cages. No measurements necessary. Scissors would have been good there. If you do have a problem with animals, you could consider lining the bottom of the cage with hardware cloth or any other sort of caging. So I'm just going to weave together an overlapping section of the cage. It doesn't have to be too good. You're just holding the cage together with this and then staking it into the ground so it doesn't topple over. There are techniques, if you are going higher with your cage, to flare out the bottom if you have metal fencing to help stabilize the height. But we're just going to do a simple setup here where we're just going to go as deep as we have stake material to go. And we have our first potato cage. There's a couple techniques in this. You can either layer your potato seeds on the bottom, and as the plants grow, add soil to the stem every 6 inches or so, 6 to 8 inches, add 3 to 4 inches of soil, and theoretically new potatoes will develop off, similar to how strawberries do with stolons. They grow, so potatoes are actually a modified stem tuber as opposed to a root tuber. They're not true roots, they're a stem, and the eyes on the potato are actual leaf nodes of a plant stem. So off of that, you'll have branching new stems putting out new potatoes. It's a survival technique that is asexual, so that you'll always have the cloned same potato that you started with. All right. We're gonna do 2 techniques. One problem with caging like this is the hole size. The soil that we're gonna use would just spill out of the cage. So you wanna line it with some material, organic preferably, that's going to help break down into the soil and at the same time retain moisture and retain the medium that the potatoes are growing in. In one cage, we're going to use paper bags as the liner. This will allow moisture to wick in and wick out. And in the other one, we're going to use broken down leaves, shredded leaves, which there are plenty of in Massachusetts coming around every fall. Make sure to keep your leaves. So what we're going to do is start with a couple inches of compost. We're just going to fill the bottom. And then for your seed potatoes, you want every seed potato to have a couple different eyes. These are where the stems are going to grow out of, and then you'll have more potatoes growing off of those stems. If you get a big enough potato, you're going to want to cut it into multiple small, what are called seed potatoes, about the size of a golf ball. All right, so what we're going to do is take the seed potatoes and spread them out around the edge of the circle, about 3 to 5 inches in between them, and you want to make them the full circle all the way around. Put the funky side down with the stems growing up and out. This is kind of on the bigger side, but I can only visibly see one giant eye right here that we have growing, so we're going to go ahead and plant this at this size. Let's see here. So why don't just try to step in, just put your foot like right there, and then grab like, just kind of set them in. So all around, these are all onions that we're growing around it. Yeah. We should probably be able to get like, I don't know, 6 around or so. Yeah.
Do you want me in the middle or just?
No, just around the edge. Another thing that the open lattice structure will do is, what they can do if they want is grow out the sides. And if, as it grows up, we could add layers of potato sets or do the layering technique with just adding soil to the top. And what we want to do around the sides is take some of, this is a mix of pine needles and leaves just to trap in. So I want you to kind of take that and press it to the edge. It's, we're going to add soil on top of that, but I figure we'll just start with taking some of this.
The light to shine into the eyes?
No, they're going to start growing so they normally start out underground.
Well, yeah.
So go ahead and add that around the edge. And then we're going to add 3 to 4 inches of compost on top of that. All right, so we'll get that in there. And that's a pretty good start for it. If you guys want to start doing this cage, and I'll add in the compost on top.
All right. Okay. There's supposed to be more bunnies.
They're fine. They'll be fine. So another thing about seed potatoes is that you want to get certified seed potatoes. You don't really want to just go to the grocery store and chop up a potato. You can do this. It will probably grow, but these have been grown in special areas in the United States where they don't have as much blight, a fungus that can kill off or render the potatoes inedible. So on this cage, actually what we're going to do is we're going to tear this bag. We're going to use a paper around the edge instead of leaves.
On this one?
Yep.
Oops, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Are we seeing which one grows better?
Yep, it's just an experiment to see what we... No, it's fine. It's perfect. So we're just going to tear that off. So make like a circle out of this.
Is that high?
It is a little bit high. You're right. Yep.
Awesome.
Around the edge. And then we'll add in some more compost. Here we go.
Does it look okay? Uh-oh.
So historically, potatoes are one of the most successful plants in the world, being planted in every continent. And it's one of the oldest ones, originating in South America and Peru. There are over 3,000 varieties of potatoes in the world. And they're incredibly resilient to bad soil, low water. You can still get a crop. If you want these things to grow though, they love compost. They love even moisture. They don't want to be too wet. They don't want to rot, but they also don't want to dry out. Yeah. So that's Potato Towers 101. We're gonna give this a whirl and see, with no expectations, what sort of crop we're gonna get at the end of the season. We'll be harvesting these probably in around August to September, depending upon the conditions. You wait for the plant on top of the soil to die to the ground before you harvest. That's when you know it'll be ready. Thanks for watching Potato Towers.